have felt like this was you, but certainly all of us at some time. And it's Jesus' words to Peter the night before the crucifixion. And he says, and the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan has desired to have you that he may sift you as wheat. Have you ever felt that way? You ever felt that every demon in hell was given your address? You know, that the scripture speaks, and Peter actually will write this later. And Peter is one who definitely knew what he was talking about. But he speaks of if need be, you're in heaviness through manifold temptations. And manifold is many, but it's many all focused on one. And my simple illustration of that would be, if you know anyone that knows automobiles or engines or mechanics, understand a manifold, an exhaust manifold takes the heat from all those cylinders and the exhaust and brings it down to one. And you're the one sometimes. You're the one that you feel like all the heat's turned on, all the tests, all the trials. You feel like that everybody else must be at rest because all the devils, all the demons are focused on you. And that's not the case. But sometimes you feel that way. But what was the case were the words of Jesus when he said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan has desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. And I promise you that every one of us, every child of God, that has been Satan's desire for you. And at times the attacks have come. At times the onslaught of the enemy has come against you. I was sharing, I guess I was talking to Brother Justin earlier in the week, and I just remembered this earlier. He said it felt like he had a target on him. And I was reminded of an occasion early in serving the Lord that Karen and I went through so many things. And, you know, you felt like Job when the report of one's coming, you see someone else running, and it doesn't look good. And someone else is running in with another report. And we went through so many things. And I was reminded of that. And it was the attack of the adversary and seeking to sift me, to sift her, to sift us as wheat, and to sweep us away, to carry us away, to turn us away. And but I also remember in that hour, the report came back. It was a number of years, and we'd gone through so many things. Yet someone had told Karen's mom, said, you know, there's something about that couple. And she goes, what's that? She says, everything goes their way. And I heard that report, and I wanted to fall over. I said, is she seeing the same world that I'm seeing? Is she seeing the same circumstance that I'm seeing? Is she seeing the same things happen that I'm seeing? Because I was seeing the enemy come, and one attack would come, and you'd see the other attack on the horizon, and then you would see, and it was just one right after another. But what she was seeing was what the Lord did. And I, you know, you can get your eyes so turned on what the adversary wants to do, is seeking to do, that you fail to look up and see what the Lord does. And see what and she from afar off was seeing what the Lord did. And she didn't even acknowledge or even know that it was the Lord. She just saw that the attacks that were meant for destruction would turn for the good. But Jesus' words to Peter here right before the crucifixion, behold, Satan has desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. And I believe that Satan wanted Peter to be the one that betrayed Jesus. I believe that. I believe that he talked to all the disciples, because Jesus said, one of you will betray me. You know what they all began to ask? Every one of them began to ask. They said, is it I? Well, they wouldn't be asking, is it I, if Satan had been talking to them. If Satan had been trying to put it in their heart, trying to confuse them, turn them away, twist things. And so when Jesus said, one of you this night will betray me, and they're all asking, is it I? Is it I? How many have ever asked the Lord, Lord, will I turn away? Will I turn away? Will I, when the test comes, will I deny you? I've asked the Lord that. I've asked the Lord, I've said, Lord, I'll never deny you. And then I've asked, but is it I? Will I do it? Will I be like Peter? And I believe that Satan wanted Peter to be the one that would betray Jesus. And maybe no one closer. And then at least Peter, James, and John to the Lord, that wanted it to be one of those. And he says, Satan has desired you to sift you as wheat, to toss you to and fro, and to shred you, and that you'd be blown away with the wind. And accept it that is Satan's desire for each of us. And at times he comes to seek if he can fulfill that desire. But Jesus said this, he said, but I have prayed for you. I have prayed. And that means a lot. It means a lot when anyone's praying for you. It means a lot. Don't take it for granted. And when the day the Lord saved me, I was in such darkness, and I'm not going to go into that, but I remember a young man met me at the door, and I knew that everything had changed. And he looked at me, he said, I've been praying for you. Don't take it for granted, but how much more so when Jesus says, I've been praying for you. I have prayed for you that your faith fail not. And he didn't say if you're converted. He said when you're converted, strengthen the brethren. I've prayed for you that your faith fail not. He's telling Peter it's not going to fail. And when you're converted, strengthen the brethren. Well, Peter protests, Lord, I'm ready to go with you both to prison and to death. And he said, I tell you, Peter, the cock shall not crow this day before you have denied thrice, 3 times deny that you know me. And of course that happened there as they arrested Jesus and the hours before the crucifixion. Jesus knew what was coming to Peter. He knew the attacks that were coming his way. He knew the onslaught. He knew the confusion that would be in Peter's mind. He knew the doubts. He knew the fear that would grip him. And I tell you this, don't accept and don't listen to those that tell you that a Christian walk is a walk that never has any doubt, that never has any fear, that never has any test. Don't believe that. But it is a walk of faith that even in the storm, you believe and you hold to that which you know is true. And that's what Jesus was calling Peter's faith. I've prayed for you that your faith fail not. And if your faith doesn't fail, when the storm's over, Peter, you will be standing. It won't be an if, it will be a when. It won't be an if, it will be a when. If your faith does not fail, then when the storm's over, you will be standing. You will be victorious. And he calls it, he says, that your faith. It's easy to show in the Scripture what Peter's faith was. And most of you know this, would recognize this quickly. Matthew, the 16th chapter, 13th verse. Jesus was come to the coast of Caesarea Philippi. He asked his disciples, saying, whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? And they said, some say you are John the Baptist, other Elijah, other Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. He said unto them, but whom say you that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. This was Peter's faith right here. This was Peter's faith. It was his profession of faith, his confession, his good report. It's what he believed, not because he'd been taught by mom and dad, not because he had been taught in the synagogue, not just because it was the doctrine that he was supposed to hold. Jesus confirms this. He said, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed it unto you, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say unto you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And what is this rock? It is the truth that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God. And this is and was the faith of Peter. This is what Jesus is referring to these weeks or months later when he says, Peter, Satan's desired to sift you as wheat, but I've prayed for you that your faith fail not. Peter, you believe I'm the Christ. You believe I'm the Son of God. In the storm, don't cast that away. In the trial, don't cast that away. In the confusion, don't cast that away. I prayed that your faith fail not, because this was the faith of Peter. And not only is it the faith of Peter, it is the rock upon which the church is built. And for any age, it is the rock that any person built upon, that the gates of hell shall not prevail against them, and the forces of hell shall not overcome them. It is their faith. And it's the very heart and soul, if you want, the sum of the gospel, the sum of the faith that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God. But I want you to see this a little bit more in Jesus' ministry. Matthew, the 15th chapter, and the 22nd verse. Behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the coast and cried, saying unto him, have mercy, O Lord, O Son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. Now, we've all heard that, the term that they would call Jesus the Son of David. The Son of David. And so she's crying, have mercy upon me, O Lord, O Son of David. Now, it's one thing to call him Lord. It's another thing to call him Son of David. Because just as to Peter, when he said, you are the Christ, then it was not just words that 2,000 years later we look at and says, oh yeah, he's the Christ, and it's really meaningless to most people. But Peter, when he said, "You're the Christ," he was saying, "You're Messiah the Prince. You're the one that's come to make an end of sin, to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness." And when Jesus is saying, "I prayed for you that your faith fail not," he's saying, "Peter, don't turn loose of that. Don't turn loose of that. And that's your faith, and it is the truth. I am the Christ, the Son of the living God. I'm come to make an end of sin, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness." And the things that are striking fear to you in this hour are how I'm going to do it. Well, here's a woman that Jesus, that comes to Jesus in his ministry, and her words are not, "You are the Christ." Her words, "Oh, you son of David. You son of David." But it was, in truth, the same profession of faith. It was the same. It was, we'll go back just quickly to Isaiah, the 11th chapter. There shall come, first verse, "There shall come a rod out of the stem of Jesse," and Jesse is David's dad, natural dad, "out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord, and shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord. He shall not judge after the sight of the eye, nor reprove after the hearing of the ear, but with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. He shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked, and righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins." And it's a promise of one out of Jesse. And just I want to read something real quick in Jeremiah 23, the 5th verse. "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, I will raise up unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth." And both of them, one uses a stem out of Jesse, a branch out of his root. But Jeremiah brings more clarity. He says, "I'm going to raise unto David a righteous branch." And they understood that it would be a son of David, of the lineage of David. "A king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. This is his name, whereby he shall be called the Lord our righteousness." This son of David his name would be the Lord our righteousness, Jehovah our righteousness. And he would execute judgment, and he would execute equity for the poor. For the poor. So when this woman is calling Jesus, "You son of David," this woman is a woman of Canaan. This is a woman that most, if many, would push away, have nothing to do. But when she calls Jesus the son of David, she's saying, "Lord, you're the son of David, the king that would come, that would execute equity for the poor." And she begins to petition him and to avenge her and to heal her daughter, to do for me. Do for me. You go back to Isaiah and this promise of redemption. It would be, and that the blind would see, that the deaf would hear, that the lame would leap as the hart, as the deer. And it was a promise. And she was saying, "You're that one. You're that one." And faith teachers has come through and told us how positive she was, and how much, no doubt, that wasn't her faith. When Jesus says, "According to your faith, be it unto you." And it was her saying, "You're the son of David. You're the one." And according to that, according to her faith, that was her faith. Her faith was not that she'd put away all doubt or all fear. Her faith was not that she walked boldly and knew this day something would happen. Her faith, she knew, she believed that Jesus was the one promised of God, sent to judge in righteousness, not with the seeing of the eye, the hearing of the ear. Those that saw with the eye would have pushed her away, would have shunned her, but in righteousness He would judge. And her faith was that Jesus, you're that Son of David. You're that Son of David. And Jesus will say to her, He said, O woman, great is your faith, be it unto you even as you will. But her faith was that she knew and believed who He was and why He came. I want to read another one. Matthew, the 15th chapter. Or did I just read that? Let's go to Mark 10. They came to Jericho. And when He went out of Jericho with His disciples, a great number of people, blind Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, sat by the highway side begging. And when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out, saying, Jesus, Jesus, you Son of David. See, this was not something that they just said to anyone that was of the lineage of David. There were many that were of the lineage of David. Joseph, Mary's husband, was of the lineage of David. And Mary's kinsmen were of the lineage of David. There were many of the lineage of David. But the reason they said, make her be quiet, he said this, that or they would say, and he heard it, that it was Jesus, is that many charged him that he should hold his peace. It's not that he's making noise. It's what he's saying. You understand? It's not, well, he's making too much noise. Be quiet. No, it's the audacity that man has. You're the Son of David. You're the Messiah. You're the Prince. And they're saying, no, you can't say that. You can't say that. That's blasphemy. Be quiet. And Jesus stood still. He cried, many charged him that he should hold his peace, but he cried the more a great deal, you Son of David, you Messiah, you promised one, you're the King that would come to deal with equity for the poor. Son of David, have mercy upon me. And Jesus stood still and commanded him to be called, and they called the blind man, saying, be of good comfort, rise, he calls you. He cast away his garment, rose, and came. And Jesus answered, said unto him, what would you that I do unto thee? And the man said unto him, that I might receive my sight. And Jesus said unto him, go your way, your faith has made you whole. And it's not that he's believing so much he's going to get a miracle. It's not that he's believing, it's that he recognized and wasn't afraid to say it when everybody else wanted him to shut up. You are the promised one. You are the Christ. You are the Son of David. And Jesus says, your faith has made you whole. And that was his faith. It's what he believed. And he would not be shut up. He would not be shut down. He would not be ridiculed out of it. He would not be humiliated out of it. It was his faith. You are the Son of David. You are the Messiah. We can go through You begin to see that, and it changes everything. Every place Jesus tells them, your faith has made you whole. Your faith, it wasn't some mental thing they had. It's who they saw Him to be. It's who they believed Him to be. It's who they called upon Him for who He was. And He said, your faith has made you whole. We know the passage in John, the 11th chapter. Lazarus is dead. Lazarus is dead. First he's sick, and then he dies. And Jesus, after he dies, says, let's go. Let's go that we may awake him. And the disciples said, well, if he's asleep, then it's good. That's good. You know, he'd been burning with fever, but now he's getting rest. He's asleep. I don't know what their thoughts were, but Jesus told them plain, said, Lazarus is dead. Lazarus is dead. When he gets there, Martha comes out to see him. And 21st verse, John 11, Martha said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother had not died. Why is that? Because she knows this is not just a man. If you'd been here, my brother had not died. But I know that even now, whatsoever you will ask God, He will give it to you. Jesus said unto her, your brother will rise again. Martha said, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection in the last day. You know what Martha is almost saying? That's not good enough. I know your brother will rise again, and Martha's saying, thank you, but that's not good enough. He said, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection in the last day. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believes in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? And she says, yes, Lord. And as Brother Surface has pointed out, then she gives her faith. I believe you are the Christ, the Son of God. Her faith was the same as Peter's faith. I believe you are the Christ, the Son of God, which should come into the world. And Jesus, after he speaks to Mary, he goes to the tomb and he says, Lazarus, come forth. And it's the faith of Martha, and I'm sure the faith of Mary, but it's both. It's not that he's coming out of the tomb. It's that you're the Christ. She didn't know if he was coming out of the tomb now, but she knew if the Christ had been there, he would have not died. But she also knew if Jesus spoke it, if he spoke it, it would be. This was her faith. Her faith was saying, oh no, he's coming up, he's coming up. That was not her faith. Her faith, you are the Christ. You are the Son of the living God. You are the promised one. Whatever you say, whatever you ask, it will be. This was her faith. I want you to, can we read? I mean, you begin to see that, and everywhere every miracle you read about Jesus takes on a different light when he'll tell them over again, be it so according to your faith. Be it so. Your faith has made you whole. Your faith, what you believe. Glory to God. I was thinking earlier, and I've shared that so many times with my Christopher, my firstborn son, the miracle that the Lord gave. And it comes up so often because it was such an overwhelming mountain. It was such an overwhelming thing. I've seen miracles and I've seen God do things in the decades that I've been serving God, that I can say I had confidence that this was going to happen, that I had assurance, that that I knew that it's just all going to be well. I'm not opposed to that. But I will tell you that the greatest miracles that I've seen, and my testimony was, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to trust the Lord. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to call upon His name. And I would look back, and I've told people dozens of times, I did not believe that I had any faith. It wasn't until this morning that I understood I did have faith. I believed that whatever He spoke, it would be. I believed that He was the Christ, the Son of David, and He could be touched. If I'm getting too loud this morning, forgive me. I get beside myself sometimes. And I'm standing over there looking at this guy and say, look at him, get beside himself. But you read through the ministry of Jesus, that time and time again, He'll say, your faith. When one said, yes, Lord, even the dogs eat the crumbs from the Master's table. And He said, I have not found faith like this. Even an insult can't turn her away. I want to go to 1 John. 1 John, the 5th chapter. First verse. This was the faith of Peter. This was the faith of Barnabas. This was the faith of Martha, of Mary. This was the faith of Mary Magdalene, as she pours the ointment upon His feet and weeps, and the religious looking on, turning up their noses, saying if he knew what kind of woman this man was. This was the faith of Mary. And Jesus speaks to her, says, go your way, your faith has made you whole. What is that faith? Whosoever believes. And the faith is you are the Christ. See, the prophecies, the prophecy of the Son of David, and the prophecy of Messiah, the Prince, they all came together. Zechariah would pick up on the prophecy of the branch out of David, and God would speak, behold, I send the branch, and He will take away the iniquity of the land in one day. They were all the same prophecy. It was that Jesus, Son of David, you're the Christ, you're the Son of God. But when we hear that, we must hear what Peter understood. Words have meanings. How many believe that? Words have meanings. If I call you a dummy, and I won't do that. If I call you a dummy, I can say, I don't mean that. And you say, well, then why did you call me a dummy? Because dummy has a meaning. Words have meanings. And Christ, the word Christ has a meaning. It's the anointed one. And when you hear that, And listen to me, child of God, or listen to me, someone that's drawn to the Spirit of God. Here's what Christ, of course the meaning's the anointed one, but the promise of Christ was that He would make an end of sin in you, that He would make reconciliation to God for you, and that He would bring everlasting righteousness into you. And that is the faith of those that believe that Jesus is the Christ. That is the faith. He's the Son of David. He's the King that will judge in righteousness. He's the one that when you're under attack, that you're falsely accused, and that the enemy has come in to overwhelm, that you can trust. He is the righteous judge, and He will judge in equity. He will rule in strength. And that is the faith of the children of God. We believe that He is the Christ. In this statement, whosoever believes that Jesus is the Christ is born of God. What's He telling you? That being born of God is something you take by faith? No, He's telling you there's something so powerful in believing the truth. If believing the truth could cause that Lazarus to be brought up out of the grave, if believing the truth and could cause that Barnabas' eyes could be open, and if believing the truth that you are the Son of David, the Christ, could cause that woman's child be healed, and there is something more sure, and it's that whosoever believes that Jesus is the Christ is born of God. Do you believe that this morning? You believe He's the one sent from God to make an end of sin in you, and He did it on the cross to reconcile you to the Father, to bring everlasting righteousness into you? Believe that? And everyone that loves Him that begat. Do you love God? He said, everyone that loves God also loves Him that is begotten of Him. And there's two truths in this statement here. One, if you love, there's no such thing as you love God and you reject His Son. There's no such thing. If you love God that begat, you love Him that is begotten, and that's His Son. But then that carries through. If you love God, you also love your brother. By this we know we love the children of God when we love God and keep His commandments. For this is the love of God, that we keep His commandments, and His commandments are not grievous. For whatsoever is born of God overcomes the world. And don't stumble at whatsoever. It's the same word as whosoever. It's who, what, which. Anything, anyone that's born of God overcomes the world. Are you born of God this morning? And someone would answer honestly and say, well, I'm born of God. I believe I know the Lord, but I'm in a storm and I don't feel like I'm overcoming. I'm in an attack and I feel like I'm sinking. Well, he follows that with these next words, something that you need to remember. And this is the victory that overcomes the world. What is it? It's the same reason Barnabas' eyes were open. It's the same reason Lazarus, after being dead 4 days, comes up out of that grave. It's the same reason that woman of Canaan, her daughter was healed. This is the victory that overcomes the world. What is it? It's our faith. That we believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God. He conquered death, hell, and the grave. He destroyed sin and Satan. He did it for me. He rose again in victory. And that faith is my victory. You say, what do you mean? Sister Hope, we're going to be closing here in a few minutes, or Sister Robin. Praise the Lord. This is the victory. It doesn't matter that you always know what you're going to do when you're in the storm. Because there'll be a lot of times you just won't know. There'll be many things that you face that you won't even know how to pray. Should I pray that it go to the right? Should I pray that it go to the left? But He has already given you the victory. This victory is the same thing Jesus referred to as the truth. You shall know the truth. And what is the truth? Jesus is the Christ, the promised one, my Redeemer, my Savior, my Lord. Victor. He conquered every adversary.